Hi, Dr. Chris here.
Welcome and thanks for joining in. It's always great to connect with folks who are of like mind, thinking about natural health care. How can I better take care of myself in a natural way, in a preventative way? How can I be more aware of such healthy practices? And if you're of that mindset, you're in the right place. Now, this is video number 2 of a 3-part series. So if you're just joining in, I always recommend going back to the first video and starting there. These concepts kind of build on each other, and if you start at the beginning, you'll have a better understanding. So let's continue. Now, video number 2, which is number 2 of a 3-part series of short, informative videos, is going to be focused on all natural self-care tips based on ancient wisdom. So I've designed these videos to focus on awareness in the first video and then get a little more focused on preventive practices, and that's what we're going to focus on here. Some good, simple, natural wellness tips that will hopefully open you up to something a little bit different that you can practice on your own. It's free to do. You don't have to pay for nothing, just have to listen and learn, and that's so important when it comes to taking care of our health. In regards to ancient wisdom, the principles here that these all-natural self-care tips will be based on are going to be acupuncture, Tai Chi Chuan, and Qigong. This is the arts that offer the ancient wisdom and the practices that can be very helpful if we can just embrace these and simply add them to our day to help put us on a better path for greater health. Acupuncture is a traditional Chinese medicine that goes back thousands of years, and it just embodies so much good preventative principles that sometimes are just not practiced. I get so many people coming to me in my clinic that are reacting to health issues, and I just wish I got them years before when we could have practiced better levels of prevention, early prevention, and true prevention. And then there's the practices of Tai Chi Chuan, which is a martial art, and Qigong, which is a practice or an exercise that is basically focused on moving energy through the body. Qi translates as energy or vital life force, and sometimes you can think about functional energy within the body, within the organs, and trying to optimize that. So within these 3 practices, these principles are going to come for these self-care tips, and we're going to get into those now. Now, in the first video series, I did talk about first steps, and that's so important. Being aware of your healthcare needs, and then coming up with good early on practices for prevention to help keep you on a good path. These are essential practices for greater health. And we want to be thinking about these. We want to be aware, and then we want to look for preventive practices. Many of today's preventive practices, I find, are actually more reactionary. And what we need is an early focus. Many times you hear, in the medical community, they may say, go get a mammogram, get your prostate checked, have blood tests, and sometimes when they find something in the blood or they find a lump, it's an advanced stage. It's later on. It's not early prevention. When I talk about early prevention, I'm looking at people's emotional and mental states. I'm looking at their daily practices and how those things over time can lead to trouble. And being aware of that, choosing the right foods, understanding how much sleep you might need, what sort of exercise you might need. You may need to meditate or have practices in stress relief. And finding those can put you on an earlier path. We don't want to be reactionary. We want to be preventative. Now, a key concept to understand in the therapeutic practices of acupuncture, Tai Chi, and Qigong is the concept of mind-body connection. I often find people struggling with health issues have a poor mind-body connection. How many times have you heard of somebody with chronic pain and it's somewhere in their leg or in their backside, but they have a hard time kind of pinpointing exactly where? It's kind of a broad area. And I find this very interesting. As I treat people with acupuncture for pain relief, the acupuncture needles are actually amplifying that mind-body connection. The needles, they go into the body, they stimulate the nervous system, which stimulates the brain, and the patient starts to become a little more aware of their pain, of their body. And I'll know that because as I do treatments, the pain will start to change and their complaints will start to change. They may have a very general complaint of pain in the beginning, and then it starts to become more specific location-wise and the quality of the pain. And then over time, after several treatments or many treatments, a course of treatment, the pain starts to change and disappear. And sometimes we'll get pain to disappear in one part of the body, and they'll start to realize, oh, instead of my back pain, I'm starting to notice I have shoulder pain. I kind of forgot about it. I used to have it. And with the back pain, it just kind of, it just was so strong that I didn't remember or didn't even sense having the shoulder pain. I just was so focused on my back pain. And so as the back pain disappears, they start to shift their focus and connect, and the pain in their shoulder starts to become more predominant. And I find this so interesting. And the same with Tai Chi and Qigong in a different way. You're moving your mind and your body together in unison. You're focusing on a direction, on stepping, on moving your body, and you have great emphasis on mental focus and breathing as well. And this helps to bring more coordination to the body. Oftentimes when people are practicing Tai Chi or Qigong, they lack coordination. They may move with one side of their body better than the other, or they may have a hard time performing a movement. But over time, they start to round out their movements and they become more articulate with their movements, and they just look more agile and flexible, and their range of motion increases. Their body and their mind are communicating better. Their coordination visibly improves. That is all about mind-body connection. And when we can promote that and become more aware of that, I think it will create a higher level of health. Now, here's an important self-care tip. Perhaps you've heard of this before, but what I'd like to share is being in the moment, being present, being in the now. That is important for health, because only the moment exists. The future doesn't exist. The past doesn't exist. But oftentimes, our mind is focused on future and past ideas that just take us away from the moment, from the now. Many times people might be talking to you and you're not paying attention. Your mind is in the future or the past. Your children are trying to get your attention and you're not present. You're not in the moment. Your mind is thinking about what's next or what happened yesterday. And it's distracting. It's pulling you out of your center. It's distracting you and creating a sort of chaos or confusion in how your energy flows, how your mind and your mental thoughts are flowing. And so as a health tip, to be in the moment, you may hear concepts of stop and smell the roses, right? Well, here's one that kind of a different version of that, let's say. And the concept is focus on your breathing. You can go many days without eating or drinking water, but you can only go moments without breathing. So if you want to be in the moment, focus on your breathing. And what's great about that tip is that we tend to be shallow breathers when we're conscious because our mind is so busy, it kind of even takes us away from breathing. We become so focused on other things and we become so busy-minded that we can't even take in another thing or another breath. It's just too much, and so our breathing becomes shallow. Or our mind is so busy that our body has to kind of be a little bit tense so as not to emulate what the mind is thinking. In other words, I explained that before, where sometimes when you have a busy mind, what is natural is your body would be moving in unison with that busy mind. But oftentimes it's not, because that would look silly, right? That's what children do, because they're very natural. They get upset and their mind becomes fiery and their body starts to be very active. They may have a temper tantrum and such. But as adults, we kind of hold our bodies in place, and there's tension there, and it can also create shallow breathing. So being in the moment, focusing on your breathing. So take your mind, focus on your breathing, inhale through your nose, and bring your mind down into the abdomen. As you inhale, your abdomen expands. As you exhale, it naturally relaxes. Okay, your breathing should be deep, all the way down into the abdomen. And this is not about your abdominal muscles moving. Only your diaphragm needs to move for you to take a deep breath. And this is what I call a water breath. As we inhale, water sinks downward in the body, right? Fire rises up. We don't want a fire breath. We want something that is sinking and settling and relaxing. So when the mind gets busy and we want to practice being in the moment, focus on your breathing. Inhale deeply and bring your mind and anchor it down into the abdomen. Imagine you're thinking from your belly, from your abdomen, instead of from your brain. This will help to settle your thoughts. It'll increase your breathing and promote a deeper sense of relaxation. Many times when I'm doing lifestyle counseling with patients, I come up with self-care tips based on Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, certain practices that they could do very simply without having to learn an entire Tai Chi form, which took me a couple of years to learn. So here is one that's based on Tai Chi. I call it breath walking. Okay, we want to synchronize our breathing, our mind, and our body. Those three elements. This style of walking will do just that, and you can do it whenever you're walking. So the next time you go to the supermarket, park way in the back so that you have some time to walk to the building, and you can practice breath walking. And this is the basic concept. What you want to do is synchronize your breathing with your walking. So if you walk and you take 2 steps and you inhale, and then you take 2 steps and you exhale, and you keep that pattern. Now you may have to find a comfortable pace for yourself. So in other words, at your normal pace of walking, not too fast, not too slow, just a normal walking pace for you, what is your breathing pattern? If you take 2 steps or 3 steps on an inhale, do you feel comfortable? So maybe for you it's 3 steps instead of 2, but find that natural pattern and synchronize your breathing. So take 2 steps, inhale, take 2 steps, exhale. It should be comfortable. It shouldn't be, forming any sense of anxiety or tension in the body. It should be very meditative and comfortable. Okay, so again, it may be 3 steps for you or 4 steps. Now, here's the challenge. After you find what is comfortable, the right pace for you, breathing and walking, you want to try to increase it. So instead of 2 steps inhale, 2 steps exhale, you increase it to 3 steps inhale, 3 steps exhale. And you maintain that until you feel comfortable. And if you feel like that's a good, normal pace and you can walk for a long way with that sort of rhythm, you've reached a new normal, right? You've increased your breathing pattern, and then you can challenge yourself to go to 4 steps or 5 steps inhale, 5 steps exhale. And at some point you'll feel it's a little uncomfortable, it's hard to maintain that pace, and then you know your limits and you can play with that. You can always regress backwards to a comfortable pace and then try again to challenge yourself and go a little further. And that's the game. That's the game of breath walking. It synchronizes your mind, your body, and your breathing on a unifying activity, which is very meditative, very healthy. Here's another simple self-care tip that you can try. Oftentimes, the tips that I offer are tips that are practical, things that you can just take with you in your day. You don't have to be tied to a gym or some special equipment. You don't have to really, some of these tips, you don't have to take time out of your day. You incorporate it. When you have stress, you have a busy work schedule, you want to bring awareness to something that you do all the time, and it brings you right into the moment, into the now. And that is your breathing. Be conscious of your breathing throughout the day. How shallow is your breathing? How deep is your breathing? Can you increase it by maybe 20 or 30%? Okay, and that is the challenge. Just simply try throughout your day to increase your breathing by about 20 or 30%. Make it more deep. Okay, and be conscious of that. And the practice here is to simply be aware that you may be shallow breathing and just kind of cutting off oxygen that your body very much needs, and you could become tired from this throughout your day unnecessarily, just because of the fact that you're not very conscious about how constricting the stress is to your breathing. And bringing awareness to this can create a very beneficial practice to alleviate stress in a very simple way. Everybody could do this. So increase your breathing, practice it throughout the day, and that's the challenge, with the hopes of this becoming a habit. And what's wonderful about making this a habit is you reach a new normal, a higher level of awareness that you don't really have to think about anymore. You just naturally feel when you are uncomfortable stress-wise and your breathing is just not deep enough, and you just naturally deepen your breathing, and it just becomes more supportive. And that's what we need in good early preventative self-care practices. Now, here's an important tip for my senior students and patients. I love the senior population. There's so much we can learn from those folks, and as a person who's getting older, they are my teachers, and I look to them for strength and tips for my own health and for the health of my younger patients. So an important area to focus on is keeping your legs strong and maintaining good balance. So many folks getting older are just losing their sense of balance, and they have poor leg strength, and they just tend to sit too much. And this just robs their legs of strength. Their muscles become thin and weak, and then they just don't have the motivation to want to move. And this is just unfortunate and sad, and we need to move the body, right? A body in motion stays in motion, and that is just so true. Some folks just struggle with health issues that don't allow them to move around very much, and that makes it very challenging. But if we can somehow find ways to strengthen the legs and increase balance for the long run, right? We can stay in the game longer. That's what I call it. We want to promote longevity and a long, healthy life. And staying in the game is how I refer to that. So as we age, we want to do it gracefully. It's important to focus on maintaining balance and leg strength. And so here's a few simple tips. And you can do a little research on my website as to some more specific exercises for your legs. But there are 3 components to leg exercises and balance and leg strength, I would say, just in general. 1 is the ankles. They need to be flexible. 2 is the thighs. They need to be strong for good leg strength. And 3 is your mind. The thing about balance is we need to be rooting our mind and our mental focus down through our legs as we're walking and standing. When we get distracted and we're looking out away from our bodies, sometimes it makes us kind of lean or tilt or slouch, and it pulls us out of our center. And when we go take a step, we lose our balance, or we're just not mindful of our own feet or the surrounding ground that we're stepping on. So being mindful and rooting your mind down through your legs is very important. So let's go through each of those in a little more detail. With the ankles, we need to keep them flexible. So simply circle your ankles. Draw a circle with your toes, like the tips of your feet, and make sure the ankle is moving in a full range of motion. Go one way, like clockwise, and then move the other way counterclockwise. The best time to do that is when you first wake up. Oftentimes, many folks have stiff ankles when they wake up because all your blood is pulled to the center of your body away from the extremities, because hopefully you're not moving much at night. You're just sleeping. But when you wake up, you got to get that blood out, and you got to oil those joints. So before you get up and walk around on stiff legs with more of a propensity to fall, you want to loosen those ankles. So circle those ankles, get them a little more limber before you stand on them. Now the next step is to strengthen your thighs. And if you have trouble balancing and walking, then simply just hold on to the back of a chair or lean on a table or the back of a couch and shift your weight from one leg to the other. The legs are used to carrying the body weight, the total body weight. But if we put all the body weight on one leg, that challenges that one leg. That one leg is not used to carrying all that body weight. Specifically, if we hold that weight for a time. So what I would recommend is to count using your breathing in and out would be 1 repetition. And shift your weight to one leg, keeping your feet on the floor, but all your weight is on one leg, and count to 5, 10, or maybe even 20, and let that thigh get a good workout. Make sure the knee is bent slightly. You should be able to see your toes past your knees. And then, as you give that one leg a workout, then shift your weight to the other leg and count to 10 or 20 and give that leg a workout with all your body weight. Very simple. You can do this anywhere. You can do this standing in line at a bank. You don't have to go to a gym. But this will challenge the thighs, and your legs will get stronger, and your knees will get stronger. And you can do several sets, and you can do it several times a day. You have to judge based on your own natural abilities. And then, as you get stronger and your ankles are more flexible and your legs are stronger and you have a little better balance, you can start to walk this type of practice. You can have all your weight on one leg. You slowly lift up the other leg and advance it forward 1 step. Then put it down slowly and gently on the floor and shift your body to that leg. Then put all your weight on that forward leg, lift up the back leg, and slowly advance that forward. It's simply slow walking. When we walk slow, all the weight is on one leg, and that leg has to get stronger to maintain that sort of activity. And this is basically Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a slow, moving, meditative practice. So you can simply walk slowly down a hall or walk across a living room very slowly. You don't have to lift your legs up very high. Just take a normal step. But the challenge is to put all your weight on one leg and try to maintain your balance by sinking your mind down through that weighted leg as the other leg advances forward. Try it and see how it works for you. Well, this finishes up video 2. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you found those self-care tips very informative and helpful. Please leave a comment at the bottom of this post. If you have any questions, I would love to answer any questions you may have. And right now, I just want to point you to my website, natureshealing.info. At the top, there's a link called Health Matters. There's some articles, there's some ebooks and reports that I have written that kind of focus on certain health topics based on all natural healing that I think you'll find informative. Don't forget, you can always connect with me on Facebook. Find me on there. Chat me up, send me a message, ask me a question. Be glad to help you out. Coming soon in video number 3, we're going to get into a very interesting concept that I refer to as breaking free from the emotional drain game. I think you'll find it really interesting, so check that out. And I hope you find ways to take control of your health naturally. Thanks for listening.